This lesson we're going to be making the onomatopoeia for a graphic novel. So by now you should have created your storyboard, finalised your storyboard. It should have at least one onomatopoeia on there. You will need one, at least one. Gone through taking your photos and starting to source your background images. Righto, let's get straight into this. What we're going to make is something very similar to this. So in Photoshop CC, it should be down on the bottom dock. If it isn't, it'll be under the Mac HD under Applications and go File, New. Make this document. So if you just go International Paper, 210 to, that's just an A4 page, as it says there. Resolution, we only need it to be at 150. CMYK, as we're printing it out in the end. And background, it's going to be best to make it transparent and just go OK. So therefore we have, it's going to be best to save it as onomatopoeia. This document, it has got that checker grey-white pattern in the background. Don't worry about that. That's just telling us that it is transparent. So they won't print. That's just to indicate it's transparent rather than a white page. Bring this image in. And so we're going to make something very similar to this. Photoshop's layout's very similar. Your toolbar runs down the left-hand side. Whenever you change these, that bottom options bar is going to change. The new inclusions in this is these 3 to 4 tools. So selection tool, magic wand tool, lasso tool with magnetic lasso, which you'll use definitely during the graphic novel, and the magic wand, and yes, it is incredibly magic. And right hand side you have a few new additions, which is the history tool, and that is your undo tool essentially. On Photoshop you only have one undo, so if you Command Z you'll only be able to do it once. This gives you the freedom to do it about 25 times. You can do it more than that, but Photoshop really tries to minimize doing that because it's dealing with large files, being photos. If they're each 10 meg each, you've got 50 files. It's going to slow the program down a bit or a lot. The other new addition is the layer tool, and we'll start using that very shortly. It's what gives Photoshop its true power. It gives it the flexibility of changing layers, translucency, how each layers interact, and how they're arranged on top of one another. Okay, use the type tool. You can just select it and click, and we're going to zap. You can select it and select the color. I quite like that color. You can change the size of the point size, change the font, which this one's going to work quite well. Remember there's also, I think I have it stored here, the font, and all those different themes you can go through and use. Are really handy, and just download and install them. The next thing is what we want to do is apply some effects to it, and we're going to be doing that by selecting this tool. If it's disappeared, you just need to select the type tool again, this tool here, which is the warp text, and play around with them, but squeeze hopefully should work quite well for this one, and just tailor it to the needs of your typeface. And think about how you pronounce the word in terms of its intensity. Should it be quite a large, and you can change the font size. Should it be large at the start and then taper off at the end, or vice versa. Once you're happy with that, goes OK. And now what we're going to do is apply a bit more of an effect to it. So over on layers, open that, I'll maximize it, and we're going to select that layer that we've got there. I'll already go over the layers at the moment. So you've got the eye tool, which is going to turn them on and off. And if I drag this file, whoops, if I drive, bam, over zap, If you drag these on top of one another, you can see what's occurring there. So that's how you can arrange the layers easily. And you can also change the intensity and all those, and how they all interact. Not that that's going to do anything for now, but that's layers really give Photoshop its flexibility. Now back on Zap, select it, FX down at the bottom there, and what we're going to do is open up the blend options. That'll open a new tab. We're going to apply a bevel and emboss, and you can change that. There we go. Open that up. You can change the inner bevel or outer bevel. It's going to work better. The intensity of the technique, that works quite well, and the depth of it. And quite a thick typeface is going to work best for this. If it's really thin, you're not really going to be able to apply any effects to it because it's not going to have the thickness of it. So this typeface is probably the thinnest you'll really want to get it. And you can change down here where the light source is coming from, so it's quite advanced in that way. We're also going to apply a stroke, and we're going to make that, yeah, that looks good. Yes. Makes it a bit more eye-catching. And you can change the stroke thickness, and if it's inside or outside. It's going to be best if it's outside, otherwise you're going to lose your internal colour and effect. And go OK. And what else do we want to do? We want to apply maybe a bit more of a zap effect to it, electrified, look like it's been electrified. So therefore we want to go to Filter, Distort, and you can apply any of these, but Distort have really good ones. We're going to apply as a ripple. Because this is a type, it's recognising as text. So you can, at the moment, you can go through and change that text. So if you spelled it incorrectly, you can change that. Once you're happy with that, we need to rasterize it so it becomes the image of Zap rather than the word Zap. So just rasterize that, and you'll see how this has changed this icon. And we're going to move that so we can see it a bit better. Play around with it so it's still legible, but it has that cool little zap effect to it. When you're happy, apply that. Yeah, it's still legible. And last of all is, if you put it on an image at the moment, it's sort of going to get possibly a bit lost because it doesn't have that thickness. We want that starburst, exploded shard effect. And you can try drawing on a screen, but I find drawing on a screen really difficult. You can draw an image, take a photo of it, email it to yourself, or image transfer it onto the screen. Sounds complicated. So otherwise you can find an example online and we'll draw over it. We'll use it as a template. So use the pen tool, make sure it's under shape. We'll keep the stroke on, yep. And just like an illustrator, draw over it. That'll do. And we will swap them. So fill, we might go that colour. Might go that colour. Something different. That one. That's good. Stroke. I don't even need a stroke. We'll probably apply a stroke anyway. And get rid of that. Now at the moment what I'm doing is I can select layers and move them around. And that's because I've got this on. If you go auto select, you'll be able to select them, otherwise you're going to be choosing layers and it's not going to be the right one you want. So if I try and move BAM at the moment, it's going to move this because it's got Zap selected. So it's really handy in most cases to have a auto select on. So if you select an image, you can see in that layer tab that it's selecting the layers you want to move around. And we're going to make it larger. So Command T that, or edit free transform, and we'll make it so it fills it. somewhere there. Colour's not too bad. And now we're trying to apply this same effect. So if we drop down to effects, stroke would be probably pretty good. That works alright. Maybe make it a bit bigger. And slightly a bit lighter. Just so it doesn't take away from the actual word. Okay, yeah, reasonably happy. Now what they've done also here is included that pattern, which is it's either a pattern, but I think we can copy it by using a color halftone. So all I've done there is duplicate that layer. So you select it, or control select, so equivalent of the right clicked, duplicate layer. And we've now got two, so if I move one, we should have another. There we go. And effects, distort, oh there it is, color halftone, see how that goes, rasterize it, 20, now reasonable, might turn off the, whoops, wrong one, stroke on that one, and we'll make it a bit bigger. And push it to the back. That could be a lot bigger. I'll zap. That's working a bit better. And then put in an image. And there it is in our panel. If you turn off these, it just doesn't have that same intensity, it doesn't become that real crucial focal point that it needs to be. So having that background shape works a lot better. With the onomatopoeias as well and the text, always try and keep them in the panels, or if they do go beyond the panel, just a little bit. Otherwise it's hard to work out which panel it's meant to be associated with. And whatever's going zap, make sure it is visible. So if a zap's occurring here, it's not going to work very well.